Did you enjoy the destruction of the pyramid? Well, since ages, philosophers and psychologists have been trying to determine as to why do we like to see things getting destroyed? What's so awesome, so dope, so amazing about it? Why do videos like these keep us satisfied? Will we ever stop feeling awesome about the destruction? Okay, that sounded bad, but it isn't. At least not completely. In the essay Beyond the Pleasure Principle, Sigmund Freud questions the violence and destructiveness in humans. He describes humans as struggling between two opposing forces: eros, which brings upon creativity, harmony, sexual connection, reproduction, and self-preservation, while thanatos brings upon destruction, violence, aggression, compulsiveness, repetition, and self-destruction. Based on this Freudian psychology, to denote the energy of the death instinct or the destructive impulse, destrudo was the term coined by the Italian psychoanalyst Eduardo Weiss in 1935. These themes play an important role in Freud's next book, Civilization and Its Discontents, in which he claims that the civilization's major function is to repress the death instinct. This instinct persists in the form of superego and neurosis. So when we are watching a destructive content, are we battling to repress the death instinct? Is it our superego which makes us feel overpowering and generates an undefined urge to destroy things? I have tried to categorize the raw emotions or feelings which are channeled or tapped into when we are watching a destructive content into 4 broad categories. So, the first one is the destructive instinct. It may come in the form of an overpowering attitude, maybe because the people or the circumstances around you suppresses you, and this is your only channel or an outlet to let it out. Maybe you like the chaotic nature of the destruction. Maybe that's how your mind is entangled to view the world in reality within your mind. Maybe you have a violent and an aggressive behavior deep within you, and this is the only way to have an outlet without having to face any real consequences. The second category is the curiosity, because it's unusual, it's unpredictable. You want to know what happens. You maybe have a deep urge to find out what happens, or maybe you have an urge to prove to yourself about the outcome as to what happens when you watch such a destructive content, and that curiosity drives you crazy. The third category is pleasure. While watching such videos, it may affect that part or a secretion within the brain which has similar effects to that of a satisfied meal or a sexual arousal, but without having an arousal or a meal. You may salivate more, feel good, relaxed, oddly satisfied while watching such videos. Now the fourth category might be purely scientific. It might be a small group of people, but those are the kind of people who are purely interested in the scientific perspective of the experiment. They want to see what happens with the experiment within the control environment. Not that your destrudo lies within exactly one of these categories. You may have combined behavioral instincts which satisfies you. Now, it's not judgmental or bad. We are human animals, and the destructive instincts are constructive in many ways. It makes us experiment. It shows us the results of destruction or damage caused. It shows us what we are and aren't capable of, sometimes at the cost of lives. But it has its path of knowledge and wisdom. It's much like a post-impressionist painting. Look too closely and you simply see dots. Take a step back and something wonderful emerges. So it makes me wonder, is chaos really harmful? A post by Andrew Boyd is a great example. Let's say if you have a triangle. Pick any point in the triangle and draw a dot. Let's call it dot 1. Then randomly choose one of the 3 corners and draw a dot midway between that corner and the dot 1. Keep repeating this process and you start to see a very symmetric, very intricate, very beautiful shape. After only 100 dots, you'll start to see it. Draw 1,000,000 dots and it's unmistakable. This method of construction is called chaos game, and the constructed shape is called Sierpinski triangle. The shape is named after the early 20th century mathematician Wacław Sierpinski. There are many different ways of constructing Sierpinski triangle. Sierpinski's shape is what mathematicians call an attractor, because it pulls what we draw into them no matter where we start. Not all the rules leads to an attractor, and understanding which rules do is interesting in itself. There are other such attractors with different rules that leads to different shapes. In the book Symmetry in Chaos, the authors Field and Golubitzky present strikingly graceful figures in color. Instead of pencil, they used crayons. If the dots were too dense, then they used the single color crayon, and if the dots were further apart, they used different colors. The finished image could easily be mistaken for finely woven rugs, except that they were too detailed to be hand woven. So, in the words of Andy Boyd himself, the most beautiful images are those that come from strange attractors. Attractors that arise from games with chaotic rules. So let me ask again, are you now sure about what you feel when you see destruction? How, why, and what are those feelings of urge to destroy or be satisfied by destruction? Nobody knows for sure. And as the famed British psychoanalyst and neurologist Ernest Jones puts it, the train of thought is by no means easy to follow. And as always, thanks for watching and see you again with a new thought. This is Jim signing off.